What do you hope to see from him going forward after the DNP tonight?
Just to be ready, the test of a young player in this league, and especially our team. You never know when your moment will be there at the brightest and highest of moments. It wasn't his time tonight. Against Memphis, it could be a game where he makes his presence felt. So don't let noise outside of the locker room, the attention that might come from it, distract you from your ability to make an impact when your number is called.
The Golden State Warriors have indeed shocked the NBA. After just barely missing out on the third seed, a series of decisions and untimely losses have led them to the play-in. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Switch Culture. It seems the Warriors have made a final decision on what to do with Jonathan Kuminga, for better or for worse. For the past 15 games, ever since his return from an ankle injury, Jonathan Kuminga has been under close watch. In his absence, the Warriors acquired Miami Heat superstar Jimmy Butler, and subsequently, the team went on their best stretch of the season. This was while Jonathan Kuminga was out with injury. As good as the Warriors looked, JK had a growing role before Jimmy's arrival. However, that was about to change. When he returned, the Warriors needed to verify his fit alongside Jimmy Butler in order to gauge the ceiling of the team. There was only one problem. Jimmy plays the same position as Kuminga, which meant that there weren't exactly a ton of minutes to be played in order to really identify whether or not they can play together. But this begs the question, considering they both play the same position with JK coming off the bench behind Jimmy, was it even necessary for them to learn how to play together? With an offense primarily around Steph Curry that thrived when Butler arrived, would it have made more sense for the Warriors to adjust the offense to fit their lottery pick off the bench? If not, can the team win without Kuminga having a significant role? Well, we won't have to wait too long to find out. As a matter of fact, the Warriors took on the Clippers with Jonathan Kuminga not playing a single minute. What does this mean? What exactly happened? And why? Find out after the break. Before that, however, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Switch Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get For the entirety of the 2024-25 season, one of the biggest questions has been what will become of Jonathan Kuminga. Will he become a superstar, a starter, a role player, or a valuable asset to be traded to another team for a superstar? Well, what actually happened just might leave you in a bit of shock. After 4 years in the league, looking back at the numbers, Jonathan Kuminga has improved in some form or another every year he's been on the team. While his raw stats might seem lower this year, he's only played in 47 games. He was also on an upward trajectory prior to injury with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 2.6 assists in 29 minutes a game his last 15 games before injury. This was also on just 15 shot attempts. That's 4 more points per game on average than what the Warriors got from their entire bench in their most recent game against the Clippers on the same number of field goal attempts. And despite everything I've just said, Jonathan Kuminga is completely out of the Warriors' rotation. Not off the bench, not 9th, and probably not even the 10th man. As long as the team isn't in dire straits, JK is getting a DNP. In Steve Kerr's words, there are no scripted minutes for Jonathan Kuminga. This means when things get out of control and Kerr has given up on the game, he'll throw a wild card for Kuminga to get on the floor to rescue the team, and either he sinks and his lack of playing time is validated, or he pulls them back into the game and makes Steve Kerr look like an absolute genius. Now we all know the drill. In order to be effective in the motion offense, a player needs to be able to defend, pass, and shoot the three. 2 out of 3 works if you're above average, and 1 out of 3 if you're elite. While there are minutes to be had for an athletic player that rim runs, gets downhill, makes back cuts to finish lobs, or gets into the dunker spot, it would seem that in this particular case, Kerr doesn't exactly trust Jonathan Kuminga to deliver as he has in the past. When you get a young, raw, and talented player with all the physical tools to excel at all the above characteristics, you have to find a way to ensure he works in your offense, because with that level of talent, it's incumbent upon the coach to fit his abilities into the present offense and figure out how to best build around him. While JK is below average in shooting, he's able to get to the line. He's also shown the ability to shoot well in low-pressure situations, but seeing as that hasn't translated, we'll just leave that here as a footnote under the caveat that he might just be lacking in confidence. His passing is above average, as is his rebounding. However, there has been an uptick in his ability to get rebounds prior to his injury, as well as in recent games. The counter-argument to the points I've recently made stem from his apparent struggles to be in the right places at the right time, or the level of effort that he seems to put in. It's safe to say Steve Kerr hasn't given him a green light to shoot as many threes as he can hoist up from the perimeter. So how do you function in a motion offense, an offense where the guy with the most open look takes the shot when you're not really allowed to shoot? In comes Jimmy Butler, whose passing is elite, his mid-range shooting is elite, and he plays fairly good defense, historically. He'll even knock down the occasional three, but most importantly, he knows the ins and outs, has NBA Finals experience while leading a team, and he does all the small things on the floor that a role player would do that leads to winning. Despite lacking in shooting, Jimmy turns out to be a great fit next to Steph Curry in terms of complementing his game. Considering the Warriors are in win-now mode and the window for Butler and Curry isn't exactly wide to begin with, it's no surprise the Warriors end up going with this move to close out the season and get ready for the playoffs. In order to maximize what they get out of Jimmy, it makes sense for them to have him on the floor as much as possible. This means less minutes for both Guy Santos and Jonathan Kuminga. We got to see firsthand how this looked against one of the best defensive teams in the league, the LA Clippers. With a fully healthy Kawhi Leonard next to James Harden, it would be an interesting matchup for Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Before we get to the Warriors superstars, however, Moses Moody had one of his best starts to a game that didn't involve shooting. In just the first quarter, he showed an impressive ability to defend, putting his 7'2" wingspan to work and forcing James Harden into multiple turnovers, ending the first half with 3 steals and 2 blocks. Unfortunately for the Warriors, it wasn't just Harden they had to worry about, as Kawhi is also offensively gifted and was virtually unstoppable, and the only player that could reasonably have been expected to stop him was not on the floor. The last time Kuminga played against the Clippers, he put up 34 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists and 2 steals while going 11 of 19 from the field. While this might have helped the Warriors, the fact that he hasn't been gelling with Jimmy suggests that the Warriors would have struggled regardless. This is not a knock on Jimmy or Kuminga, as they both simply need more time. Jimmy did a fantastic job in attacking the Clippers, playing with physicality and getting to the line. While he was keeping the Warriors in the game, the team struggled in grabbing rebounds, with only 4 total rebounds between the Warriors starting front court at the end of a game that went to overtime. This was one of the biggest factors because the Clippers simply had bigger and often more athletic players than Golden State, so they crashed the boards and got plenty of second chance opportunities. While he struggled early on in the game due to a thumb injury, Curry managed to turn it on in the fourth quarter, giving the Warriors a fighting chance. He had 13 points on 5 attempts without missing a single shot, hitting 3 of 3 from distance. This was just enough to tie the game. Given the constraints of overtime, the Clippers with their versatility on offense won out. This was the first taste of true playoff basketball, and now there's a good idea of what the team may be up against. While things seem bad, it's not quite the end of the world. The Warriors only need to win one game, a matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies, in order to make the playoffs. While they haven't had much luck in these types of settings, having not won a single play-in game, it's unlikely they lose 3 in a row, which is what it would take for them to lose their playoff spot. This game might give Steve Kerr enough insight for him to find a way to involve Jonathan Kuminga in the play-in game against the Grizzlies. Not only that, Jimmy suffered a minor setback in a collision with Kawhi that left him limping a bit during the game. If this keeps him out for any significant period, expect the Warriors to make room for Kuminga off the bench. While it's easy to say that JK hasn't been consistent, that's more than likely due to an inconsistent role with inconsistent minutes and returning to a team that replaced the role he was just starting to grow into. He'd really only just recently figured out how to play alongside Andrew Wiggins and getting better when Wiggins was traded. His shooting has also been well off the mark at 20% since he's been back, clearly a slump and not a true representation of what he's capable of doing. Nonetheless, this post-injury performance has left a sour taste in Kerr's mouth. It probably wouldn't hurt if Steve would send some encouragement to Jonathan Kuminga during the slump in the same way that he did Pajemski, and letting him know that the team needs him, especially as he's a versatile wing that the team actually will need production from in order to compete for a championship this season. I assume since he's not sending those words of encouragement in the media, he's likely not sending them in private. There's still time, however. The Warriors need to win one of 3 games to guarantee a playoff spot. They've lost the first, and there are 2 more doors remaining. I say they beat the Grizzlies and get in at the 7th seed to face the Houston Rockets, a much better alternative to the Lakers so early on. If they still manage to lose that game, they get another shot that would end in a series with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now that I think of it, it's obvious that the Warriors sat Kuminga to intentionally lose to the Clippers. The Warriors' best chances are actually with OKC, so even if they lose to the Grizzlies, I wouldn't be too concerned. The Warriors have a favorable record with the OKC Thunder and are likely to win in a playoff series. Playing OKC would also open the gate to give JK some significant playoff time on the floor. And that's because winning at the highest level and/or getting a high-level performance out of Kuminga in the postseason would maximize the Warriors' chances of re-signing him in restricted free agency. Unfortunately, that also raises his value, and so it might be a bit more competitive. That would, however, mean that they found a suitable role for him on the team. If not, restricted free agency could get very interesting, as there are a number of teams interested in him, such as the Phoenix Suns and Brooklyn Nets. If the Warriors prove they can win without him and he walks in the offseason, then they'll be able to run it back with a championship team the following year. The Warriors don't lose in either situation, and neither does JK, as he'll likely end up with a team that is able to prioritize him finding his footing in the league. And believe me when I say this, there is a place for Kuminga to thrive on a team. But let me know what you guys think. Which of the next 2 games do the Warriors win? They face the Grizzlies, and if they lose, they face the winner of the Kings-Mavericks matchup, which my prediction is likely to be Dallas with Anthony Davis. And what about Jonathan Kuminga? If he can't be a part of this Warriors playoff team, do you think he'd be willing to sign a smaller contract to stay with Golden State, or is the Jonathan Kuminga era over? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Just be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish.